Mr. Speaker, this morning I would like to highlight and acknowledge the important work that the Ministry of National Security Gang Violence Reduction Team continues to do in the community. Recently, there have been suggestions that this government has ignored the serious gang violence problem that continues to plague our island home. In actual fact, Mr. Speaker, every day the Gang Violence Reduction Team is out in the community working to combat the risk factors that often set our young people on a path towards gang involvement and antisocial behavior. I meet with the team regularly and have a great confidence in the work that they are doing. Mr. Speaker, the Gang Violence Reduction Coordinator and the Outreach Prevention Manager lead a multi-agency effort to violence reduction. The team is supported administratively by the Ministry of National Security headquarters staff. The team operates from a coordinated plan to tackle gang violence and antisocial behavior through a series of strategically designed prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation programs and initiatives. To this end, the team works in conjunction with the Interagency Gang Enforcement Team, or the IGAT. The IGAT is a multi-agency working group that works to identify at-risk youth and develops a multi-pronged mechanisms to mitigate violence and support prevention and intervention efforts. Mr. Speaker, since September 2018, the team has been working with the administration and student services at the Cedar Bridge Academy and the Barclay Institute alongside the Bermuda Police Service to provide support services for at-risk students. The team visits the schools at least once per week. When necessary, this has increased to daily visits. The goal of each initiative in our senior schools is to provide incident management support, mediation services, and individual student support sessions and group sessions. Mr. Speaker, this initiative has already seen several successes within the involved schools. The team has worked with the Department of Public Transport to develop transportation plans that get students home safely. In recent instances of increased tension, the team has been able to go into the schools and coordinate mediation sessions between students that are involved in rival gangs. These interventions have realized a marked decrease in gang-related conflicts at the schools and in the immediate hours after school. Mr. Speaker, the hallmark of this initiative is the continued individual and group sessions that the identified students are invited to participate in. At Cedar Bridge, the team is currently delivering a 10-week pilot excellence program. The program focuses on incident mediation and understanding risk levels and encouraging self-reflection and introspection. Through these ongoing interactions, the Gang Violence Reduction Team is able to help these students realize their self-worth and see the many opportunities for self-improvement that are available to them. Mr. Speaker, the team's involvement with our young people does not start at the senior school level. Frequent interactions with the administration and guidance departments at our primary and middle schools have helped the team to identify potentially at-risk students and put in intervention plans in place to ensure that these students steer clear from antisocial behavior. The Gang Resistance Education and Training Program, or GREAT, remains an ongoing tool used within our schools. The program is currently rotating through the public primary, 6 primary schools, 1 middle school, and by June 2019, the GREAT program will have reached all students in these year levels. Mr. Speaker, outside these ongoing school initiatives, the Gang Violence Reduction Team continues to work in the community. In order to lower the tensions, the team also focuses on prison outreach and street-level outreach. At each level of outreach the connections are made and relationships are built to facilitate the reduction of violence in 2 key ways. Specifically, by directly mediating tensions and conflicts between individuals and groups that lock people into deconstructive cycles of violence, and by connecting proven at-risk population to the needed help through community-based programs and services. Mr. Speaker, the team's prison outreach provides support for incarcerated violent offenders with links to gang activity. Where appropriate, the team offers therapeutic services and liaises with prison staff to assist with developing long-term plans for the inmates' rehabilitation. For these identified offenders, the team provides affirming resource that takes special interest in the well-being of the offender and their eventual reintegration into society. Mr. Speaker, the work of the gang violence coordinator who's present this morning, Mr. Speaker, Pastor Leroy Bean, through high touch, high confidential and sensitive interactions, it involves him directly working with persons who are currently involved or who have been directly impacted by gang violence. As a result of this sensitive subject matter, it is not appropriate for the government to provide detail on the particulars of the outreach in order to protect the confidentiality and security of all the individuals involved. At the street level, Mr. Speaker, the team's overarching strategy is to target individuals and groups who are known to be players in the cycle of violent behavior. The team provides intervention through the formation of trust-based relationships that serve to de-escalate and mediate tensions when necessary. A major component of the outreach at this level is the connecting of individual to neighborhood resources and making necessary referrals to case managers. The goal is to steer these young men towards pro-social activities by providing a range of opportunities for change. Mr. Speaker, one such change opportunity is what the opposition leader called the chicken farm. It was attacked in his throne speech, replied. This is called Redemption Farm. This farm is still in the planning stages and initially will not have chickens at all. The team will have successfully been meeting with the Bermuda Farmers Association to share the Redemption Farming Plan. The association has agreed to provide their support and assistance wherever and whenever they are available. Mr. Speaker, scheduled to be fully operational in January 2019 and 2020 fiscal year, the Redemption Farm will provide successful engagement for at-risk young men in a socially restorative incentivized employment through a socially restorative and incentivized employment training program. The program will be operated from a holistic approach and will arm the participants with the necessary vocational and entrepreneurship skills through various forms of farming. Additionally, case management services will ensure that the personnel personal development is also encouraged for those who subscribe to the program. Mr. Speaker, the gang violence reduction team relationship with the community partners underscores how much work that they do. The team currently supports a wide range of community groups that align with the team's aims, including Moms on a Mission, the Bermuda Clergy Working Group, the Living Legends Community Group. Mr. Speaker, the work of the gang violence reduction team is important and should not be understated. The ongoing gang-related tensions in our community have not been ignored. Rather, this government and the gang violence reduction team have steadily been working to coordinate resources to best address the issues, and we are seeing results. The team offers triage services and directly addresses the concerns of the individual or refers them to the appropriate agencies. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank all involved, especially the gang violence reduction team, for their work. However, Mr. Speaker, this team cannot do this work on their own. I encourage all of us who live and love this community to roll up our sleeves to assist with stamping out the gang culture on our island. Parents and families must continue to be involved with the children. Churches and institutions must look for ways that they can support their communities outside the church walls. Charities and sports clubs must continue to develop strategically designed programs that divert our young people away from antisocial activities. Business owners must create training programs that lead to gainful employment for those young Bermudians. Finally, Mr. Speaker, as politicians, we must As politicians on both sides of the aisle, we must agree to support policies and legislation that aim to empower and elevate our marginalized young men. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.